everyone, welcome to Level Up Your Leadership with me, John Barrett, where I am going to share some visual leadership lessons for you so that you can get better as a leader and you can be more effective in all that you do. I want to share something with you guys called the double down effect. Now, this is something that is huge. I learned this years ago and it blew my mind. It literally changed the way that I approach all kinds of thought process of how I plan for the future. And I think this is going to revolutionize what you do and how you think about your future, and it's going to help you figure out how to get there. That's what the whole goal of the double down effect is. It's to figure out what you need to do in order to get to where you need to go. Now, here's how the double down effect works. It's basically a question that I kind of want to ask you and that you ask yourself every time that you do this. And you basically say something along the lines of this. If things were double what they are now, what would I have to do differently? Now, here's how you can overlay this and apply it to everything. So in the context of leadership, if you were to say, okay, as a leader, if my team were double the size it is today, so if I'm leading 5 people, now I've got 10 people on my team, what would I have to do differently in order to be effective? Right? That answer to that question determines everything you need to do today. So the whole idea is this, is if this is where you're at, you basically ask yourself, if it were double the size, what would I have to do differently? What would I have to do differently? So if you think about the double down effect with finances, if we were to double our revenue and we had double the revenue coming in, what is it that we would do differently? And the answer to that question allows you to reverse engineer and figure out what you need to do today in order to get to where you want to go. Because everybody wants to be double where they're at, whether it's your finances, whether it's your impact, whether it's your influence, whatever it may be, you want to be double the size where you're at right now. Well, how do you get there? You get there by figuring out and creating a mechanism today that allows you to get there. Most people do something like this. They say, boy, I'd really want to be double what I am today. Wouldn't that be awesome? What do I have to do to get there? What do I have to do to get there? Well, listen, if you'll actually just sit down and say, okay, let's just say that I was double of what I am. Let me start to think through, how would I operate differently? So again, if I'm leading a team of 5 and I've got now a team of 10, how would I have to lead differently? Well, gosh, I'd probably have to create some depth in the organization. I wouldn't be able to have 10 direct reports, so I'd probably have to have at least 1 or 2 right-hand people that would kind of level up and they would help me lead. Well, the answer to that question is this. That's exactly what you need to start doing now in order to get there. You see, you're not going to wake up one day and just have 10 people on your team and then figure out, oh my gosh, what do I have to do to lead there? No. You've got to start doing today what it is that you need to do in order to get to where you want to go. So this is where the double down effect is huge, because the mechanism for you to get to double the size, all the secret to it all lies within operating today like you would be if you were double, because it creates the platform for you to actually be double. For example, you've got a team of 5. You say, you know what, today I'm going to start leading like I've got a team of 10. So I'm going to start changing some things in how we do our reporting system. I'm going to start identifying at least one person that I can start raising up that's going to be my right-hand person that I can level up. Well, if you'll start doing that today, guess what? You will start to create the mechanism for you to double up what you're doing. Because when you start operating today like you were if you were double, it's what is the catalyst that allows you to get there. So if you were to say today, well, if I want to double my revenue, then what would I be doing differently? And how would that change today from what I'm doing today? Oh, well, gosh, I'd have to sell, double the amount of products in order to do that. Okay, well, if I have to double down on the products, then what would I have to start doing? How would we be operating? Oh, well, we'd have to be pumping out at least, 10% more each week than what we're doing today with our products. Well, guess what? Now you start to say, okay, well, what are we going to do to start amping that up? You may not get to, 1% to 10% overnight, but you might be able to go to 2% or 3%, working towards that 10% increase of product in order to get to that double amount. So I hope you're following along with this, but this double down effect is so good. It's so helpful. right? You think about this and you think about your organization. If you're the leader of a business and you've got 30 people in there, if you were to double down and have 60 people, how would you have to lead your organization differently? Well, the answer to that question starts to indicate and give you a window into the very things you need to start doing today in order to get there. And here's what's great about the double down effect. Once you start getting there and you start to create that mechanism where you start actually doubling down, guess what happens? You ask yourself then again, what would we do differently if we were double our size, double our income, double the amount of people that I lead? Now that I've got a team of 10 and I'm leading, if I had a team of 20, how would I have to lead differently? What would have to change? Oh my gosh, I'd have to create a different department within our department. I mean, that's what would have to do in order for me to double down. Well, guess what? You've just started to give yourself your marching orders for what you need to start working on today. Start moving toward your dream. Start moving toward that plan, because it's that process of working towards it where you actually create the foundation for that to build upon. You don't just wake up one day and you're double what you've got. No, you have to put forth effort in order to get there. Well, what effort do we put in? Well, ask yourself the double down effect. If you were double what you are now, what would you have to do differently? Then reverse engineer and say, okay, we'd have to do this, this, and this differently. So let's begin to do it. So here's what I want to challenge you to do is this. You basically ask the question, if I were to double down, what would have to change? Once you do that and you begin to get that answer, well, this, and this would have to change. That then becomes your goals. Those become the very things that you start working on today. So for example, if my team went from 5 to 10, I say, well, I have to start probably raising up somebody to be my right-hand person. Guess what? You need to start working on today, meeting with that person, pulling them into your inner circle a little closer, and begin to communicate with them and develop them so that they're ready one day to step into that role. You get the point. Now, I could give you a million examples of how this can work in every area of life. It doesn't matter what it is. You can literally overlay the double down effect into any area of your life, whether it's leadership, whether it's finances, relationships, whether it's products, whether it's whatever it is. You can literally overlay it on anything. And just ask yourself, if it were double what it is now, what would I have to do differently to sustain that and maintain that? And the answer to that question begins to give you your marching order. So I want to encourage you, think about this. Ask yourself the question, if I were to double down in fill in the blank, whatever it is, what would have to change? Guys, I'm telling you, this can be a game changer. For me, I began to ask this early on in my career as a leadership coach. I began to say, okay, I can remember having about 3 or 4 clients and saying, okay, if I were to have about 6 to 8 clients, then what would have to change? And I can remember just sitting down and thinking, well, I'd probably have to get a system here. I'd have to schedule a little bit better. I'd have to be able to probably shorten those sessions so that I can make time for it. Guess what I started doing? I started to go, oh, well, I need to start working on that now. So I started to backtrack and I started to shorten some of my sessions. I started to do some other things and add value a little bit faster so that I can move quicker and make room for it. You get the point. So I just want to encourage you, work on the double down effect. Think about it in the context of whatever it is that you're doing, and I think it's going to be incredibly helpful. Listen, if you go over to johnbarrettleadership.com, go check out all the other resources I've got to help you level up so that you can get better as a leader, so that you can be more effective. I'm rooting for you. I'm behind you. I am always helping you in any way that I can. So go get them, make it happen. We'll see you next time. Reach out to us today so we can help take you and your team to the next level.